Hello and welcome to my hypertrophy lifting series where I record every single set and rep of a given workout as I possibly can. I'm running my second public program. This is my MyoMax training program. It's a 9-week hypertrophy-based, slowly increasing volume periodizing program. If you guys want it for yourselves, it's $10 in the description, but honestly, you don't need it whatsoever because I share the whole journey here on YouTube and I have clips and stuff on TikTok and Instagram if you guys just want little short snippets. So, this whole thing is really just a way for me to become the best athlete and lifter possible, but also to share the knowledge that I accumulate and the insights that I may already have with you guys so that we can grow stronger and become bigger together. So I think of it kind of like as a two-way street, and I hope that you guys think the same. And if I can't provide some educational stuff, then hopefully you guys just get entertained by watching me destroy myself each and every day in the gym. Today is a true upper body day. We're going to be focusing on back and chest primarily, but of course your arms are secondary movers, so they're going to hit as well. There's just no direct arm work. That happens on my accessory days, which I had one yesterday and I'll have one in 2 days because the frequency is very high for this program. Today I'm starting with the chest supported T-bar row, and if you guys don't have this exercise, then there are many ones that you could substitute it with. The main components that I'm looking for in a primary hypertrophic back movement is to be stable and have a nice chest support. So, you could do like a seated machine chest supported row. You could do like a seated incline bench, cable, lat pull. You could do this exact variation, but use dumbbells, whatever you have to in order to meet the criteria, which is stability and then just being able to really focus in on your back. All right, enough of that. Let's get into the first set. Just so you guys know, I'm going up 5 pounds. So I'm going from 3 plates, that's like 135, excluding whatever the bar is, plus 5 pounds. And last week I got 8 reps on each set for a total of 3 sets. And then I did some like shrugs, some scapular squeezes just for some additional mid-trap volume accumulation. Anyway, let's go into it. All right, so I matched the repetitions and I even got like a little half rep at the end, but I don't really count the half rep. I just like to include something like that to ensure that I have put the most effort that I possibly can muster forward. So I count that as 8 and then 5 shrugs. Your priorities as a lifter should and absolutely do change if you're doing things right over the course of your lifting journey. For example, when you are a beginner lifter, your primary goal should likely be getting good at the fundamental movement patterns and building up as much strength as you can, because that's just the fastest way to achieve progress. And when you're in that like new beginning phase, when you're like 1 year or less of training, every single little thing that you do, your body hyper responds to. So you actually don't need as much volume in order to grow. I think you can grow from as low as like 8 to 10 sets, which is that's like the lowest standard for somebody who's more intermediate or advanced in their lifting journey. So that's just how your priorities should be in accordance to when you're beginning lifting. But how do they change over time? Well, when you become more advanced, you're going to become more stronger, and your body will have become super accustomed to training, and that's when you need to start mixing things up, and periodization and progressive overload become some of the 2 most important principles in the lifting game. Like, you have to be constantly training or changing the training variables over time in a smart manner, and you have to be constantly pushing yourself and striving for improvement. or else your body is just going to stay stagnant. So the name of the game really changes. I think that that's just something that the people need to come into terms with. So for instance, my program, it's more tailored towards intermediate or advanced lifters, probably more so intermediate because that's the stage that I'm in, and that's the stage that I'm trying to get out of. At least I think I'm in the intermediate stage, because when you're advanced, you're going to need to start using techniques like pre-exhaustion and stuff in order to make the proceeding sets as hypertrophic as possible, because you reach a level of strength when you're super advanced where you could do like the whole stack for like 15 to 30 repetitions of a given machine, or like when you're doing leg press, you had to put on so many plates, and that's like a whole workout in of itself. So once you're at that level, you have to start using certain techniques like pre-exhaustion. For instance, doing a quad extension before a leg press, before a squat, in order to ensure that you don't have to like put up so much weight on the squat, because once you get to a certain level, 600 pounds, 800 pounds on a leg press day after day may cause some joint strain. You know what I mean? That's what happened to like Ron and Coleman and stuff. He's half robotic now. And I mean, no flack against Mr. Coleman. He's a legend. All right, let's get into set number 2, shall we? Not as happy with that set. It just didn't feel as deliberate and controlled. And I think that if your goal is size, you do need to really be controlling and mastering the weight. And that just didn't really feel that. It felt a little rushed. So the third set, I'll make it a carbon copy of the first instead of doing whatever that was. Last night I was getting my feet up by the bed, not drinking what I went together. You call your girls on each other, hey, going up to home, I'm sure they need to fall. I'm freaking living wood. I'm scared. It's like now I'm going to call your white neighborhood. All right, I was a bit happy with that one. That one felt a lot more deliberate and controlled. So I'll take it. Up next, we're flipping from the posterior side of the body where we hit back to the anterior side of the body where we're going to do some pressing now instead of some pulling. Anything where you're pushing something off of you with your upper body is going to work the chest, the shoulders, and the triceps to some degree. And then depending on where you're varying the angle, that's going to emphasize different areas more than others. For instance, when you're at like an incline and you're pushing up, then due to the line of force, of strength that you're pressing, it's going to be targeting more of the upper or clavicular head of the chest. Versus if you're like at a decline and then you're pressing, then all of a sudden that force curve is going to be targeting more of the lower chest. So then flat is going to be, kind of like the whole deal. Of course, any angle is going to be hitting everything to a larger degree, but by shifting that angle where you're pressing, you're actually going to be preferentially targeting different areas of the chest. And the same goes for something like, your triceps and your shoulders. If you're more upright, you're going to be getting more side delt and front delt. Versus if you're more flat, then you're going to be getting just more of the anterior or the front delt instead of the side delt or rear delt. So, that's just something to think about when you're programming your movements. You kind of want a variance. You want some variation in your program. You don't just want to be doing incline all the time. You don't just want to be doing flat all the time. You don't always want to be doing like a straight up and down vertical press either. And the same goes for back movements. You want a little bit of variation, just so that you're completing the whole development package. That's really what it's all about when you're trying to build a aesthetic physique, when you're trying to look a certain way. Now, of course, maybe you want to change it up, and maybe you want like bigger shoulders and you don't want lats or something. That's totally like personal preference. I think that most people want the whole package, but some people may I've never heard of this, but maybe somebody just wants like one bigger right bicep and they want a small left one. I've never ever heard of that, but I'm sure that there's people out there for everything. Anyway, let's just get into the lift. So I'm doing the low incline. It's like a 30-degree, because that's my like, that's I think the best of both worlds, kind of, just for me, between hitting that flat or that more incline, like 45 degrees. So I like a 30-degree, and we're doing a dumbbell press. And I'm gonna stop talking because I've been talking too much. I'm sticking to 90 pounds, and I'm just gonna try and at least match last time or beat it. I'm kind of at that point where my gains are starting to slow down, just because I'm starting to reach that plateau, like where it's just getting more challenging. And that's why I'm not continually pushing the weight anymore. I'm just gonna try and push reps, and then I'll get to the weight. All right, let's do it. Holy heavens. Oh shit. Okay, so that was totally some like amateur hour for me, and the reason why I say that is because I only did one warm-up set just with 60 pounds, because I'm isolating myself from the rest of the gym a little bit, and I didn't want to have to haul 2 pairs of dumbbells over here. So I warmed up really quick over there by all the dumbbells just with 60, and then I came over here with the 90s and just got into it. And I'm starting to get to that point where I'm strong enough where I need to start emphasizing warm-up sets on every new body part, the first lift of every new body part at least. And while I did do a short warm-up, I need to be doing at least like 30 warm-ups, because that felt like my groove wasn't oiled enough, so to speak. Wasn't lubricated enough. And therefore, when I was doing it, I felt so wobbly and out of control. And when you're wobbly and out of control with heavy weights, that's a, highway to hell, so to speak. That's a short stop to Snap City, Injury City. And especially now I'm starting to realize why the professionals, you don't see them like touch the dumbbells at the top very, very often. Because when I did that, totally like ruined my groove. That felt better. The health benefits related to lifting in particular are so vast, yet so misrepresented and underemphasized, in my opinion. Like, for instance, as we age, sarcopenia, which is the loss of the natural decline of muscle mass, and osteoporosis, which is the natural decline of bone mineral mass, naturally declines. And the older we get, the faster the rate of decline. Well, just by lifting weights, you are offsetting both of those exponentially, almost to like 100 times, I believe. Because like for instance, just take when you are dieting and trying to lose body fat. If you aren't lifting weights, then you are naturally going to be losing muscle mass too. It'll just be body, or just be, it won't even be body fat, it'll just be body weight. You'll be losing muscle mass along with adipose tissue. And most of us want to keep our muscle that we have tried so hard to obtain. So just by working out, just by lifting weights, it's a signal to your body, and it says, hey, we're using this, let's not get rid of it. So, and then obviously, like by loading up your body, like by loading your axial skeleton, so axial loading throughout your whole entire spine, that is caused by doing squats. And by training in that way, you are naturally preventing the decline of bone mass. So, you know, either way you spin it, lifting is going to offset a lot of age-related decline in diseases, which, you know, that's only like the tip of the iceberg, so to speak, for the whole expansion of everything that exercise and lifting does for us. You know, it's like proven to be as good as serotonin reuptake inhibitors, which are, you know, obviously SRIs, which are used for depression and anxiety and all that stuff. And, you know, for some people it's an imbalance, but for others, they could just exercise and be all clear, all golden. So, you know, those are just like 3 things to name a few amongst the, you know, tens of maybe 100 things that I probably am not even aware of, you know, and I'm sure they're discovering new stuff each and every day. All right, I just wanted to talk about that real quick because it's just such a powerful reminder. And I think that it can help people stay disciplined and stay consistent. Okay, last set here, let's get it. That one was tough. Shit. You know, I say the last one was tough, but it's supposed to be, so I'm actually thankful for it. Next up, we're getting some more variation. We're shifting from, you know, for the first exercise, we did more of a horizontal pull, and now we're shifting more to a vertical and upright pull. The real difference here is just how it's targeting your back. So with more of a horizontal pull, like the chest support T-bar row that we initiated this given day with, that's going to be focusing more on your mid back just because of the line of pull. This is how you're pulling. So that's just gonna be working on that like rhomboids, mid traps and all that good stuff. Versus this, with this type of pull, you're actually, just try doing this movement and you'll figure it out. You're getting a lot more lats because of the line of pull, how you're getting that adduction of the humerus into the torso, how you're getting that scapular squeezing and depression even. And those are all just functions of the lats. Now I've said it before, but I'll reiterate, whenever you can play to the functions of a given muscle group, you're gonna be hitting that muscle group in spades. So just, if you don't know what the functions are, you can, you know, Google it or something and just look up like, you know, all the functions of the bicep or something like that. And then evaluate whether the exercise you're trying to do actually performs all of the functions. If it doesn't, then you may want to reevaluate using that exercise. And of course, you know, not every single lift is going to be hitting every single function, You know, some lifts, like they're isolation exercises, so they're more so just hitting like one of the functions or two of the functions or something like that. But you know, that's just for your interpretation and for you to decide whether it's going to be beneficial for you. And that kind of brings up the very, very valuable topic of, if you see a lift online by some random fitness influencer or whatever, and they're like preaching this like golden ticket, like end all be all chest movement, for example, make sure you fact check that puppy. Like, look up the functions, look at the comments, and evaluate whether it's hitting the desired movement of the given muscle. So for the chest, you know, you want adduction of the arm like this. You want a little bit of narrowing of the shoulders and stuff like that. So, you know, if it's not doing any of those movements, you know, it may be a scam. All right, let's get into the first set. I'm leaving the weight the same at 165 because last time was pretty difficult, but we're doing a drop set. Ooh. You know, I really love this movement, especially in the way that I'm doing it, because at the bottom, I can feel like my lower lats working, which is something that you don't always get the pleasure of experiencing, I find. All right, so I actually managed to do an extra like few reps of the drop set there. I got like 8 reps of the drop set and 10 to full range of motion. So even though I didn't increase the weight per se, and even though I didn't get more repetitions with the full range of motion, I still increased the lift in some capacity. Since I got an extra few sets of the drop set, sure, like it may not be equated to a few more sets of the full range of motion, but you know, that is still a form of progressive overload because I'm enhancing one training variable. I'm enhancing one training variable. Let's get us at number 2. Okay, now for some drop sets, lowering it down to 90 pounds, which is almost half. I like to lower my drop sets by at least like 40 to 50%. Probably more like 30 to 40 actually, if I'm being real. There we go. Another successful one down. Let's make a third one, another carbon copy of the first, shall we? I've mentioned that phrase a few times over my last few videos, and I just think that it's such a powerful statement because ultimately that's what you're trying to achieve. You're trying to make the first set of a given lift after warm-up sets, of course. So your first working set to have the most intensity, the most pitch perfect and controlled and mastered form that you possibly can muster. And then the main goal after achieving that like best set that you can for that given day and that given exercise is to try and replicate it. Because I think that if you're trying to beat it, that if the first set was as good as you truly intended to make it, then you're probably going to be struggling to actually improve upon it in the subsequent sets. And the last thing you want is for the form to completely diminish and go down the toilet. So I think that, you know, your ultimate goal is to make it a carbon copy of the first. That last repetition was definitely a little inferior compared to the first 9, but I think that it was the overall set so far was pretty good. For those of you who haven't caught on to my exercise structure in each and every workout, I'll clue you in right now. I like to rotate body parts. So I never hit the same two body parts back to back, or at least I try not to. If an exercise is taken, or I'm kind of in a jam, then I'll end up doing that. But I try my hardest not to under normal circumstances. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is, like, on this day, I'm going from the posterior side of the body to the anterior, back and forth, vice versa. And the reason for that is because since they are antagonizing muscle groups, while you are hitting one, the other one is inherently resting. It's like your biceps versus your triceps. You can't flex your bicep and extend your elbow joint at the same time because that's contracting the triceps. I mean, of course, you can flex them both at the same time, but you can't actually like use one at the same time as the other while enacting the function of each one. So basically that's kind of my logic when approaching exercise order is hit one and then the other one is resting, so that by the time you get to the first one, you're well recovered since you had a whole exercise of many sets for it to rest. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that now we're hitting chest again since we just hit back. And we're doing like a seated incline chest press, a machine variation. Well, I don't even know if you do. I mean, I guess it's a machine, but it's plate loaded. Whatever. Tomato, you know. I'm going up 10 pounds. I couldn't resist. I'm going to that 180. So 2 plates on each side. It's, whatever reason, it's a milestone. So let's try and get as many as I can, okay? Okay, so I got 8 very solid repetitions, I'll say. You know, I'd count them to not be solid if I like shortchanged part of the range of motion, but with that, I was really careful to get the full bottom portion and then really lock out the triceps at the top for each rep. So I'm pleased with that. I got 8. I can't really remember. I should have checked before what I got last time so I could try and beat it, but either way, I increased the poundage by 10 pounds. So, you know, it's going to be a win. If not now, it'll be in the long term when I start adding repetitions and really getting like above that 8 repetition mark into the 10s. So I'll have to check, but that was 8 reps with 5 partials, and let's match it for the remainder too, shall we? You know, guys, there's a battle as old as fitness itself online. The battle that I'm referring to is whether or not you should train to failure and how often you should do so. There's the one camp where they believe that every single set of every single workout forever, you should be training until failure, because failure is proven to grow muscle. Then there's the camp that believes that if you train to failure too often, then you're actually going to be hurting yourself in the long run, and that training just shy of failure is just as beneficial, except it doesn't come with the taxing recovery returns. And I'm kind of like on both sides. I think that if you are newer to the gym, then going till failure is very important so that you learn what true failure is, and you learn to work hard and you can grow your work capacity very quickly. But I think that if you are more advanced and you really need to be careful of hitting failure too quickly because you need to accumulate all this volume regardless, then you should probably be more cautious and program in, like, you know, RPE of 7 or 8, or like 0 to 3 reps shy of failure, instead of saying, oh, I'm going to hit failure every single time. So I think it depends on where you're at on your lifting journey, whether you really know yourself or not, and what you're trying to get out of it ultimately. Carbon copy, baby, let's go.
You're fine.
Hell yeah. All right, so this is one of those true, like, really keying in movements for the lats where you're so sturdy and stabilized where you can really just focus on only using your lats. Of course, you're gonna have some bicep in there as well, especially since we're supinated in this lift, in this particular like hammer strength plate loaded vertical row. And this is one of, I think this is the only exercise since I started filming myself on this platform where I'm actually deliberately decreasing the weight just for form reasons. In the past, I've decided to like halt an exercise's increase in weight progress due to lacking form, but I've never actually deliberately decreased it. But with this one, I've just been unhappy with how much I'm swinging the weights around, how much I'm swaying back and forth, because like I mentioned, like I just said, this exercise is really stabilized and deliberate. So by me like moving around too much, even though I do have some programmed sheet reps towards the end, but you know, in that first half, like I'm just moving around too much, and the true strength of this exercise is to really key into the lats. And I just feel like I've been underperforming in that regard. And therefore I'm going down, like, I think it's about 25 or 30 pounds that I'm decreasing actually. So I'm just gonna really, I'm not even gonna really try to completely annihilate myself on this lift. It's really just gonna be about, you know, it's really just gonna be about focusing on each and every repetition and making sure that each rep is perfect. That I would consider a good rep. Where I'm just totally locked into place. I'm not moving my back at all. At least not my low back or anything. Okay, I'm gonna end it there. And I think that was really great. Now, I don't know if you can truly quantify what a perfect repetition is supposed to look like. I'm sure that people have tried with like some fancy studies and stuff. But we kind of have some general guidelines. You know, a perfect repetition is going to be a very powerful concentric, and then a very slow and deliberate and masterfully controlled eccentric. Not too slow to where you're like deliberately like slowing it down so much, but not so fast where you're just dropping. You really want like the kind of like the middle ground where you're just controlling and mastering it. So I think that I'm hitting those landmarks while doing, while like improving my form in this way. And that's all we can really ask for. You know, we're not robots. We can't like program a specific tempo and keep it for every single rep of every single set for the end of time.
It's like
How weird that my left side is so much stronger than my right. How weird, especially since I am right-footed, I'm right-handed, I'm right side dominant. Born and bred that way, so it's strange that my left side has such an easier time with this movement. But again, we're not robots, you know. There's like, if you do like a DEXA scan or something, then you'll see, like, even if it's very minuscule, you'll see some differences in lean body mass from like, you know, bicep to bicep, from lat to lat, from glute to glute, from chest to chest, etc., so on and so forth. You'll see a little bit of a variance. It can never be perfectly sculpted across, unfortunately. It is what it is at the end of the day. Okay. All right, guys. Let's finish set number 2. You're totally fine.
sorry, Joe.
You're good. I find it crazy how you can like key into certain body parts while you're doing a given lift, and you can actually get more out of it. The mind is such a crazy thing, and it's crazy how integrated it is with the body as well. Like when you're doing just a movement like this, you know, the seated vertical lat pull, lat row. When you're doing it, I can either key into my lat or I can really focus on the elbow flexion of my bicep. Depending on which one I do, I feel one more. And we know from studies and stuff that just by deliberately focusing on one body part in a compound lift or over another, you're actually going to be using and enacting more and more motor recruitment and muscle fibers as a result out of that given muscle. It's nuts. So if you guys are really like, hey, your biceps are a weak point, when you're doing your rows, maybe focus more on your biceps. If your back is a weak point, when you're doing your rows, maybe focus on your lats. And this doesn't just apply to back movements. This applies to every lift. Let's just cut to set number 3 here. All right, guys. Set number 3. One more, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're up this cable watch, my favorite. Let's move on. Okay, so here's the deal. I've been stuck at 32.5 pounds for both the straight arm lat pull down, the unilateral variation kind of across the body, as well as the bilateral cable fly like this for far too long. I'm not sure the exact metrics, but it's at least like a couple weeks that I've been stuck at this exact weight. And honestly, I'm not really feeling strong enough to go up a full another, rung on the machine from, what would it be, 32.5 to 37.5, so a full 5 pounds. But that's where like little modifications come into play. And what I mean by that is there's like these little weights that you can drop down. Usually it's like a 2.5 or a 5 or something, but in this case, it's only 1.5, which I think for an exercise like these is perfect for me. I think that it's gonna, if anything, just be that little boost I need in order for my body to get into that mindset and that gear of, we got to start adapting for real now. Okay, it's enough messing around. So yeah, that's kind of how I'm approaching it. I think that if you guys are running into some plateaus of any sort, try mixing something up, either adding a smaller increment of weight or just changing the exercise up in a slight regard. Like for instance, you could go from a close grip bench to a wider grip bench, and all of a sudden it's changing the emphasis of how it's attacking your chest and triceps and shoulders. For this, I'm going this route. So anyway, let's get into it. Alternatively, you could rotate an exercise out completely. Like you could change from a close grip bench to like a close grip incline Smith machine bench or something like that. There's variations. So you guys got options always. Oh. Ah. I really hope that you guys noticed that. That was so funny. The cable just totally yeeted my microphone onto the ground. Kind of embarrassing, but let's fix this. That's never happened from a cable before. It's happened from a machine when I used to have it like in the center, but not from a cable. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. That'd be pretty embarrassing, I think. You guys probably just found it funny though, so whatever. All right, now for chest flies. You know, it's sad, but very, very true, is the fact that if I had this superset programmed earlier in the workout, I'd be able to progress at it so much easier. I mean, I'd probably be at least like 10 pounds ahead of where I am now instead of only 1.5. And that 1.5 is even questionable. The reason for that is you're just more fresh in the beginning of your workout. You're more well rested, just because you haven't been wearing yourself down by all of these heavy sets throughout the course of a given workout. So by having it basically at the very end, all that I have after this is like calves and stuff. It's almost impossible to progress on, but that's why I make sure that the last exercises are so easily done. You know, it's not like I'm doing a heavy set of squats or deadlifts or power cleans or something super technical, like some ring pull-ups or something at the very end, because if I were doing those at the very end, my performance would be down the drain. You know, I would not be able to do hardly anything, you know. And on top of that, you would have the whole mental component of, I don't want to do this, I can't do this, blah, blah, blah. You know, that wimpy little voice in your head that loves to show up when you never want it to, or you never invite it to. You know, today's Halloween. I'm surprised that nobody's wearing costumes. That'd be pretty awesome if people wore costumes to the gym too, but the only downside that I can see with that is like some costumes could be very constricting. I'm gonna be Aragorn from Lord of the Rings. Try me a like if you guys understand that reference and you like the costume idea. And I don't know if I can bring a whole cloak and a sword and stuff into the gym. God, I can hardly grip it. Oh, frick. Shit. You know what's crazy about this exercise is as it gets heavier and heavier, I'm more and more tempted to include some elbow extension and engage my tricep in order to assist with lowering the weight. But I'm doing everything I can to prevent that action from occurring because I'm not trying to train my triceps in this lift. All right, last one.
You guys gonna use the cables? Sure. All right, you know it better. All right, I'm gonna go get some resistance bands. I will be right back.
Never grip it towards the end. All right, guys, just one more set. It's nice to be almost done, for sure, after a difficult lift on Halloween. Whew. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for week 4, day 4. All that I have left is 3 sets of the standing machine calf raise and then 3 sets of the seated machine calf raise. And then I'll be completely done, but I'm not gonna film that just because it's kind of boring. But thank you guys so much for watching. Really do appreciate it. And I'll see you tomorrow for week 4, day 5. Bye-bye.